I'm sure say by this time, they what say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, any Foreign Affairs Ministry, penny for including Minister Honorable Samakuja to Ablakwa, Eko Kupiemu our USA, Eko UN General Assembly meeting no, or plenary meeting no, as UN General Assembly on plenary meeting no, as Emma just a vote be akoso, and I'm sure the story no, what's the news no, but you know, we are always interested in telling you the story so that you see the bigger picture, right? You see the bigger picture. Some of the details you don't find, we are going to give it to you in this particular video. But more than so, maybe a subscribe button so now click the bell notification icon. So follow your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter at gossip24.com and the gossip24 TV. Now feel free so bet you at the comment section. I will share video so I'm out for so any beer. So let's get straight to the story, right? Now, on my Ghana, a pushy motion be our UN General Assembly. Now, this motion, our history just said. From 2022 to 2023, His Excellency the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, released a motion pay. Our previous UN General Assembly meetings, I say, it's about time. I was say we are seeing in Naji to Muse, and Kwasuma yen and animal call ye, and more de shape near there before move free a baby memo. Edio Mokoko Islands, Bisudio Moko PMO, US, Momoko Somia, call UK, Kosomia, call building several European countries near Diano. It's about time I say money and recognize oh my bonny DT before. Now sa bonny and yes some recognize it. Nemo also say tia soka.
Changing, and it is time to bring the subject of reparations firmly to the fore. Granted, the current generations are not the ones that engage in the slave trade, but that grant in human enterprise was state-sponsored and deliberate, and its benefits are clearly interwoven with the present-day economic architecture of the nations that designed and executed it. Reparations must be paid for the slave trade. No amount of money will ever make up for the horrors, but it would make the point that evil was perpetrated, that millions of productive Africans were snatched from the embrace of our continent and put to work in the Americas and the Caribbean without compensation for their labor. If there are any hesitations in some minds about the paying of reparations, it is worth considering the fact that when slavery was abolished, the slave owners were compensated for the loss of the slaves because the human beings were labeled as property, deemed to be commodities. Surely, this is a matter that the world must confront and can no longer ignore. The African Union has authorized Ghana to hold a global conference on the issue in November in Accra. It is probably also the time to return to that vexed subject of illicit financial outflows out of the continent of Africa. I refer to the report of the panel chaired by the highly respected former South African President Thabo Mbeki on the illicit flow of funds from Africa, which states that Africa is losing annually more than 88 billion United States dollars through illicit financial outflows. Yes, those monies too must be returned to the continent. It is difficult to understand why the recipient countries are comfortable about retaining such funds and are happy to call those countries from whom the monies are taken as corrupt. I believe that a joint task force of the African Union Commission and the OECD Secretariat under the auspices of the United Nations should be charged to find ways of stopping the damaging outflow.
So this particular video I'm out here from 2023, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo address or the choir. Now, sir, address ne did the more says I may gain the opportunity to say a filing motion. UN General Assembly or plenary meeting no ase. Instead, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and a leading motion. Right, good. Now, also there is a group USA who form of Foundational Black Americans. Now, sir, Foundational Black Americans. Omoni on my Ghana, and I say African countries no nyadring say bano say slave trader because omomusu say omo no the direct say effects be was slave trade mo omo and affect them directly because omo native black Americans omo nananom and omo di omo konko asumu say ka say Ghana for Ghana mpo di omo ni say Ghana your man a eboaye e slave trade no slave trade no ekoso into omo ni Ghana enya adwen omo ni say Ghana no say anytime a Ghana beba conversation will be ano about sika and a Ghana epe for foundational black Americans at good. So on the 24th of March 2026, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ekokopie New York in the company of New York Mayor Mabdani and there's some call African burial grounds. In fact, some friend of Ark of Return, something like that, right? That New York a monument in New York. Good. And see, omo call honomo. And I just say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama come a speech about saying Africa, Ghana, and as Africans who wosifad ko lay wreath and the kai yenana no mudi omo konkwa so many ideas. Such a beautiful event happening.
I lay this wreath in memory of our ancestors who suffered the indignity of enslavement. May today mark a restoration of their dignity and their humanity. Amen. Amen.
Good.
But what you didn't see from that event, you know, any say, some foundational black Americans see, Makacho say, omone Africa for, unless omone Ghana for, when it comes to the slave trade conversation, no. Now there's a which na honomo, omu team, omu protesting against His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and the New York Mayor no the omu ye, was our grounds honomo, say a disrespect to our ancestors.
And it shows every day. We can tell when Yvette Clarke sits up there and fights for everybody but us. We can tell that you ain't our kinfolk. When you sit there and you see our people struggling and suffering, but you're sitting there giving $10 billion to people who have never paid 1 penny into this tax system. But you don't care. I see you laughing, and I hope the ancestors come up from the ground and tear your ass up. I am so sick of y'all. We are not the only people. We are sick of it. We are tired of you disrespecting our ancestors and disrespecting us now in the present. We are sick and tired of it. You are disrespectful. We told you we don't like what you're doing, and you continue to do it. Don't you feel uncomfortable? You flew your ass all the way over here to be disrespectful on top of somebody else's grave. Now imagine if I came to Ghana and I just pissed all over your ancestors' graves. How would you feel about that? How would you feel about that? You wouldn't like it, but you feel the need to come over here and do what you're doing in the name of what? You are not our friends. You are not our family, because our friends and family will respect our ancestors' graves. But that's not what you're doing, is it? You're doing whatever the hell you want to do. And to us, be damned. And this is why we are tired of it. And this is why we delineate. This is why all you're doing is giving us fuel and letting us know what we must do. And the path that we are on is righteous. You are disrespectful, continuing on with this ceremony and how many of you are even foundational black Americans that are over there? Probably none. But you are standing on our ancestors' bones. I'm telling you this again. You are standing on our ancestors' bones.
And that's why Africa
we are tired of it. You can sit there and just stand there on our ancestors' grave. That's our people, not your people.
And this is the time to demand restitution.
You know, I find it interesting that the reparations discussion is being had within the African Union right around the time that Black Americans started bringing it up and started actually really talking about taking action to pursue reparations, right? So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting coincidence that at this very time, the African Union, the Ghanaian, whoever he is trying to take this conversation of reparations for chattel slavery to the UN. You know, and the thing is, like, how are you going to take a reparations conversation to the UN when y'all were an active participant in the slave trade? It was a whole business operation that they're still doing in certain parts of Africa till this day. They still selling people as slaves. So you were an active participant in this atrocity that happened for 300 years. You were shaking hands and doing deals with the devil, with the colonizer. Now, all of a sudden, you want to ask for reparations for it and for your country. Your country wasn't even established as a country at the time that this transatlantic slave trade was going on, honey. So, it's just another way to me, I think, to kind of cut in and undermine and get into something that is supposed to be for us over here.
Ewo honobo what say omo ye videos ma ona bu samoku je to abla say Ghana de say e ka nkrofo a omo safa ya enya mo Ghana de ye no omo woni say Ghana fo e boa ye ma slave trade ne koso. What I say, but Ghana no anytime about conversation bian sika ain't na Ghana about conversation.
Oh, you're anti-African or you hate Africans. Why are you against Africa? Nobody's not against you. Nobody was even thinking about y'all. Y'all are not important enough for us to think about. The only reason why we're even having these discussions is because they're always trying to insert themselves in things that are supposed to be for us. They're always trying to insert themselves into our shit. That's the reason why these conversations are being had. We don't care about Africans just because they're African. We're not picking on you just because you're from somewhere else. We don't care about you like that. If you left us the fuck alone and stop trying to steal from us and try to undercut and undermine everything that we do and try to take credit for all of the things that are good that we've done as a collective, trying to take credit for it and then dump us with all the garbage and dump all the garbage onto flat blackness and try to make it seem like that all the garbage and the criminal stuff is who we are, then we wouldn't even be here. These conversations wouldn't need to be had. But yet we're the ones who are xenophobic and divisive if we bring these kind of topics up, if we shed light on this stuff, if we clap back at the disrespect, then we're xenophobic. We're the problem. So we just supposed to let folks steal from us, slap in our face, tell us that we not shit, take away all of our accolades, slap us with all their garbage, tell us we ain't got no culture, tell us we don't know who we are, tell us we're lazy, tell us we're not successful. We just supposed to take all of that disrespect, and then as soon as we clap back, we're anti-African and xenophobic. Make it make sense. It's really given jealous obsession at this point. Like it's given like an unhealthy fatal attraction. That's what it's given to me. I don't know how I'm not really sure how y'all see it, but I can't help but to see it any other way.
So where are the position of the foundational Black Americans? They were there, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, early wreath. Fast forward to 25th of March 2026, and the UN General Assembly plenary meeting a course. Now a course His Excellency John Dramani Mahama again a card your becca our meeting nasi. Honorable Samoku to Ablakwa a card your becca our meeting nasi chemu dientia and what say a day and then your mudi tum. Now omoka no mu declare says slave the entire slave trade no a course on a boneke see kutia humanity. Now face Africa ye deserve reparations. Into omoka ni na e wo meeting na say no mo carry no and then the amaya ho do church o madwe. Now me person will take note of US or mine no the omoka right. US rep no e wo meeting na say no e kan say hwe sisi Ghana na eli dis amotion ni e dia be sa slave trade a mo se e course sui na den yi e dia na kire say mo Ghana mo mine no mo so far ye was because in the first place no at the time na sa de we happen na emra bi eni ho no mo I kire say sa de we e bone e business na course so sa me no what say na sa business na course so sa me no kra no sisi ano say e ka say e ma reparations why mo na benefit from sa reparations no omo taking part in the business no na ye tua sa reparations we di amomo ana say omo aye ton omo na ye tua sa reparations we di amomo into omo US no they don't see who seeks to benefit from the reparation and why this motion should be on the table in the first place. Into omo jitu mo bia enye.
We regret that the United States must once again remind this body that the United Nations exists to maintain international peace and security. It was not founded to advance narrow, specific interests and agendas, to establish niche international days, or to create new costly meeting and reporting mandates. This resolution does all three. The United States has defined long-standing objectives to the framing of reparatory justice and the duty of reparation for historical wrongs. While we acknowledge the horrors of the past, we do not accept this resolution's assertion that historical facts from the 15th through 19th century constitute violations of jus cogens, as the term is understood in contemporary international law. The United States also does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. In addition to its obvious legal problems, this resolution is also unclear as to who the recipients of reparatory justice would be. The drafters and supporters of this resolution seem to believe it is them. The United States strongly objects to the cynical usage of historical wrongs as a leverage point in an attempt to reallocate modern resources to people and nations who are distantly related to the historical victims. As stated at the outset of these negotiations, the United States also strongly objects to the resolution's attempt to rank crimes against humanity in any type of hierarchy. The assertion that some crimes against humanity are less severe than others objectively diminishes the suffering of countless victims and survivors of other atrocities throughout history. This is not a competition. This attempted ranking is also simply incorrect as a matter of law. The United States would also like to express disappointment in the arbitrary historical perspective of the text. Trafficking in African slaves began long before the 15th century and sadly continued even after the 19th. These dates were clearly selected for political reasons rather than historical accuracy. All trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans deserve to be condemned, not merely the political expedient. Also, there are some fake news articles suggesting that the sponsors of this resolution called into question President Trump's support of the black community. We reject any such suggestions. Indeed, President Trump has done more for black Americans than any other president and enjoyed historic support from the black community in the 2024 election. He is working tirelessly to deliver for them and make our country greater than ever. Finally, we must express our deep disappointment regarding the process that led to this text. Throughout drafting, the United States and other delegations offer constructive contributions aimed at aligning the text with the established international legal frameworks. These contributions were ignored. For these reasons, the United States will vote no on this resolution. Thank you.
You know, that was the position of the USA, right? And the day, 25th of March 2026, now, a day falling in line with 1807 Act PMU UK or abolish slave trade. Now, you would ask, so what is the position of the UK? And I just say, Omona Ghana so for a very long period, and sana Ghana again independence. Now, the position of the UK, no, and they say, right? But almost state SM. Emra nasa de we air course no. Na enya boni wo bebia. Na yi business and air course na enya boni wo bebia. After no generations upon generations about. Ama samre a new governments and the war, a new systems and the war. It's yet in Obeka say, Sir government way a wohono, and ain't share reparations for 1 year or be a tremu. And even at that time,
The United Kingdom recognises the gravity of the issues addressed in this resolution and welcomes the opportunity to set out its position. We have repeatedly recognised the abhorrent nature of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, which inflicted untold harm and misery on millions of people over many decades. Its horrors were profound, and its legacy continues to leave deep scars today. The UK also believes that only by acknowledging and discussing collectively the most painful elements of the history that we share with other nations, including the transatlantic slave trade, can we come together in a spirit of solidarity and mutual respect to respond to the challenges that we all face today. The UK remains committed to that goal. That is why we engaged constructively throughout the negotiations on this resolution in the hope of reaching a consensual-based text. However, despite our efforts, our concerns have not been taken on board. The UK continues to disagree with fundamental propositions of the text and therefore, regrettably, could not vote in favour of it. Firstly, the UK is firmly of the view that we must not create a hierarchy of historical atrocities. Doing so simplifies the complexity and vast scale of suffering endured in different contexts. It risks diminishing the experiences of communities whose trauma and suffering was felt just as strongly. No single set of atrocities should be regarded as more or less significant than another. We should approach all historical injustices with the same seriousness, empathy, and respect to ensure that no one group is made to feel that their suffering is being overshadowed or treated as secondary. Furthermore, it's essential and integral to the rule of law that the formation and evolution of international law is governed by clear and well-defined principles. The principles of intertemporality and non-retroactivity are long-standing tenets of international law. They are essential to ensuring legal stability. According to the intertemporal rule, the applicable law is the law of the relevant time. International courts and tribunals have routinely upheld these principles. There is equally no duty to provide reparation for historical acts that were not, at the time those acts were committed, violations of international law. These principles cannot be circumvented by recourse to the concept of continuing harms. The UK welcomes that states have developed international law such that today's slavery and the slave trade are rightly prohibited by treaties and under customary international law, and enslavement is now recognised as a constituent element of a crime against humanity.
At that time, no, na emre biye ni hono a ema na yet se bone na enne no mo pese mo declare say a gravest crime against humanity. And then bone be so say bone bi ana because omo ye ne sadia na akwa so mo ko create hierarchy of bone or they say bone we dey so chen bone we ni ade. Bone dey e was say obi na ye ne bone nti was say nipa nyina ehuma sa nipa no.
Nonetheless, it's important to acknowledge with deep regret that the prohibitions on slavery, the slave trade, and what are now considered crimes against humanity had not yet been established in international law at the time of the transatlantic slave trade. None of the recognised sources of international law, as set out in Article 38 of the Statute of the International Court of Justice, identify a prohibition on slavery and the slave trade until the 20th century. The United Kingdom appreciates that Ghana, on behalf of the African Union, consistently stressed that this resolution was not to be read as a legal document. This was restated by the drafters at every informal consultation. In this context, the UK and others offered specific language to move the text away from legal to political discourse, while still reflecting the sheer gravity and horror of the acts. Member States also suggested the text should be considered by the Sixth Committee. Again, this was met with the response that this was a political declaration. The United Kingdom is keen to underscore this point on the AU's intention, while we continue to regret the failure to accept language that would have put the matter beyond doubt. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom. I give the floor to the...
So that was the position of the UK. And then you call Tuabano. Now, ye Tuabano, bear in mind, that me catch us a UK for and Tuabanibi. It's ye Tuabano, Amaya who do back 52, Eyom Efrimu, Ebene Albania, Andorra, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Canada, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Fiji, Finland, France, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Montenegro, San Marino, Romania, Republic of, I don't know the country, Portugal, Poland, Paraguay, Palau, Oman, Norway, North Macedonia, New Zealand, Netherlands, Slovenia, Slovakia, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, and after UK. But am I be one make your position clear say ye mo nyadwen omo Israel, Argentina, and after United States of America. And am I would go back 123 say Ghana ye mo adwen say slave trade of course no the gravest crime against humanity. And the free Algeria, Angola, Antigua, Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Barbados, Belarus, Belize, Botswana, Brazil, Brunei, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cape Verde, Ethiopia, Eswatini, Eritrea, Equatorial Guinea. They kwa omunyina for Ghana so. Oman do 123. Omudo for Ghana say Ghana is supporting emotional. It's the Korea say no. You and General Assembly no on plenary meeting has say. And now we two mu say slave trade ain't the gravest. Now the gravest say just say but omu declare say a serious bonia. It's here humanity. A serious bonia idea before a fame. They deserve reparations no. It's your honor. And now honorable Samoku Jeto Abrakwa Babeka say reparations no more hwehwe no. We who social media so say be a foundational black American say na Ghana you need the security na Ghana pesika any sika no mope. Name no mope equality, balance. What is say ban infrastructure, ban education ni ade baby to see e wo baby asat slave trade we na akọ no. E ho no mo no mo pesa no ma we wo. Nti betumi akọ into infrastructure. Almost also per say bia artifacts bi on be fire during slave trade era no. So betumi return o mo return ni na ka reparations no enye sika keke.
We have, in this resolution, talked about frameworks we should put in place that will take care of the consequences. We all know that the consequences of the transatlantic slave trade has been the lack of opportunity, discrimination, the degradation of people of color. So we have said, let's have frameworks that will serve as endowment funds to support education, to support empowerment, to support skills training, capital for entrepreneurs, and all of that. And we have made clear that African leaders or Caribbean leaders are not looking for money. It goes against our conscience to seek to profit from this. We don't want any payments made to us directly. We are talking about courses to deal with the structural inequalities. And we are also talking about the return of artifacts to the continent. It's all in the resolution. There are thousands of artifacts from Egypt all the way to the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana. Those artifacts should not be returned on piecemeal as and when those who are in custody of those artifacts are in a good mood. So we have outlined what must be done and to whom these redress should be addressed to. So again, it is totally wrong for a claim to be made that there is no clarity about who benefits from reparatory justice.
Honorable Samoku Jeto Abrakwa say, "Enyisika no omope balance, omope equality." High aggressive 24. Magraheb.